AI Shogi 3 has a complete 64DD disk driver, but needs a little nudge to use it. A few GameShark codes can be used to start the disk threads, and from there, all images will automatically load from the disk instead of cartridge. Normally files are located LBA10, but retail drives don't let you write there, so a couple more codes move that base address into the RAM area. For this demo, a work-in-progress version of Gary Jones's yet unreleased English translation is written to Doshin the Giant at LBA 4056. Don't be surprised if the final version differs somewhat from what's shown. This new image data will be loaded from disk in place of the cartridge data, soft patching a full translation of the game. It only loads data once, and menu switches. The drive is silent during gameplay. It'd be pretty awful if it wasn't. To be completely fair, there weren't load times when this was a cartridge, but considering it's loading about 250 files at the moment, it's quite tolerable.
よろしくお願いします。
Two more codes can be used to rehook the callback for the debug menu. This way you can press the L button at any time to open it. The game wasn't exactly designed as an expansion. There's no native way to know whether a new data is differently sized from the old, so to circumvent this, another set of codes asks the disk for a replacement file table. An added benefit is that the two file tables in the game can be combined. The first contains all of the game's data. The second contains only what's needed for the debug menu's system test feature. The cartridge side file loader uses two different base addresses for the two file tables. By contrast, the disk side file loader uses a single base address. Combining the two tables is what the drive expected. AI Shogi 3 is exceptional as the only cartridge with a full Leo disk library that wasn't designed for or as a disk expansion. 7 other cartridges have these libraries. Of them, F-Zero X was the only one to see its expansion released. Ocarina of Time and Dezaemon 3D did not. Expansions for Pocket Monster Stadium and Mario Party were compiled into their sequels. In a way, the same applies for Ocarina's Master Quest. Note, no other cartridges can drive a 64DD, even games originally designed for expansions like Ogre Battle 64, or created as disc games like Dobotsu no Mori. What's unique is AI Shogi 3 does not expect an expansion. It tries to read its own data from the disk. It doesn't have replacement tables or overwrite any code. It also uses an earlier code base than any other disk or cartridge title. Heading back to the pseudo-expansion, using a development disk affords a number of advantages. The entire content of the disk is rewritable, so the original cartridge's expected address of LBA10 can be used this time. A stub or game can be placed at LBA0, just in case the disk is run on its own. AI Shogi 3 doesn't check the content of the disk ID, it only stores it. This way, when you eject the disk, it knows when the same one has been reinserted. There's nothing preventing you from combining this content with an existing expansion or disk game. In this example, the Dezaemon 3D expansion is on the same disk as our false Shogi expansion. But why stop there? Dezaemon 3D only expects a certain company ID and comment field. It can sit alongside other expansions or games that only check the game ID. The Ocarina expansion probably falls into this category. The rabbit hole goes as deep as you want it. Show that in a second, but first, let's get rid of any misconceptions. AI Shogi 3 has all the support needed for a disk game, but doesn't use it on its own. Without the GameShark, the disk content won't load. If you run the original cartridge, the drive is ignored, and the game remains in Japanese. That's in stark contrast to the other 7 games on our list. When they find a drive, they try to use it, sometimes disastrously. Dezaemon 3D needs no coercion. It actively checks for a disk after the Athena logo and loads it when found. As far as data, it uses the LBA just before the RAM area and as many in RAM as your save data requires. And now to go off on a completely unrelated tangent. You know, this is a great opportunity to illustrate the absurdity of copying disk games. Doshin 2 has a reputation for ridiculous disk swapping, but Dezaemon 3D can be pretty foolish about it too. The problem is each game consists of 5 or more files, and each one has to be copied individually. It's not exactly a design flaw. The files are stored individually, and there's the option to load just part of a stage. That's what the stairs up and down icons are for. It just kind of would have been nice if they would have buffered the files that you're going to be copying, because even a small game like Omake here is going to require probably 7 disk swaps in the end. Let's see, that's 2. 3. Four. Five. Alright, and that's the final one. Now it's actually usable. By contrast, although save RAM saves are a fraction of the size, they need to be decompressed and reformatted to be stored to the disk, so it will take far longer to store far less data in the end. Well, just take my word for it that it'll take 1 minute and 7 seconds to convert this save. So, well, there you go. Multiple expansions on the same disk. Have fun.